VMI. America has always been a shining beacon of hope and freedom. As an immigrant, this is something I've never forgotten. At a young age, my parents ingrained that into my mind. Remember, we are lucky to be here and to never forget what America means. I mean, how could they ever forget? No immigrant forgets their story, and mine is one of many. My parents came here from Vietnam after the United States had bought my grandfather's freedom. By fighting with the Americans, he was labeled a traitor, and he was sent to a concentration camp where they tortured him every day. His family left the country on a worn-down boat with hundreds of other people over dangerous seas. They left because the odds were stacked against them. Their home wasn't a home anymore, and it was better to leave the country or die trying. Warsan Shire, British Somali poet, said, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark." Most of our families have an immigrant story. Maybe you have heard yours. Historically, the United States has been a nation that embraces immigrants and accepts our role as that beacon. I see that light dimming, and I worry for our future. My dream for our future is that we can reclaim our immigrant story, move beyond the negative stigma perpetuated by the media and politicians, and instead embrace our stories and the stories of others. The problem is that there is a negative shift in attitude towards immigrants. Our founding father, George Washington, said, "I had always hoped that this land might become a safe and agreeable asylum to the virtuous and persecuted part of mankind, to whatever nation they might belong." This was his hope for our future, that America will always be the land that embraces those who don't have a home. Even in 2002, Alan Greenspan, chair of the Federal Reserve Board, argued that immigration keeps the U.S. competitive and financially strong. He said, "I've always argued that this country has benefited immensely from the fact that we draw people from all over the world. It's not a battle of all of them versus all of us. It's about us joining together to pave the way into the future." Unfortunately, a recent UCLA study found that in the U.S., 50% of adults believed that immigrants are making the economy worse. So what happened between 2002 and now that's caused such a dramatic shift? Immigrants are stigmatized by the media and politicians who focus on the wrong narrative. When the media are constantly showing stories on arrests of illegal immigrants, terrorist attacks, and negative stereotypes, we begin to associate that with immigrants as a whole. This is where the negative stigma that surrounds immigrants comes from. They're giving all this attention to those who only wish to do harm. When people are just exposed to what is broadcasted, they begin to accept that as the absolute truth. When studying media impacts on immigrants, Dr. Menjivar at Kansas University argued, the more a message is repeated, in this case in the news media, it becomes a fact, even if it's not true. And the most sensationalist one-liners are not accurate, but because most people can't do the research themselves, their only source of information are these messages told over and over again. What politicians have said is already impactful, but it's the constant repetition of these words that creates a memory. The media has denied us the true stories of immigrants and how they came to be here. They withhold the stories of the contributions made by immigrants. These are the stories that we truly need to hear. In economic terms alone, immigrants contribute $223.6 billion in federal taxes. We have to start associating individual immigrants with their story and use their story to empower others. Immigrants come to the United States with nothing, and through hard work and determination have built their lives. That's the American dream. Tell that story. It's not about how they got here. It's about how they stayed and continued to make it better. We cannot put all the blame on the media and politicians. It's our job to seek the truth, seek out the stories, and not limit our knowledge to what is broadcasted. Only we can make a change, but that requires us acknowledging our role for the future. My parents came to this country with a few dollars in their pocket and a crying me under their arms. They left their friends, family, and everything they've known behind for the possibility of a better life. I know we can all say that we owe our parents everything, but I truly owe mine everything. If it wasn't for my parents' sacrifices, I wouldn't be here speaking to you. Could you imagine the thoughts that were racing through their minds and the conditions they were in if only a possibility of a better life urged them to leave? When I asked them why they did it, their response to me was, I looked at you and I knew I had to. There is nothing that can compare to the unconditional love parents have for their children. I am here today to give immigrants a voice and to reclaim my immigration story. These are the stories of perseverance, hardship, second chances, and love. In stories the media tell, they neglect these essential values which define immigrants. I'm never going to let them or anyone take that away from me. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempted toss, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Our country embraced immigrants so much that we put this on the Statue of Liberty. This beacon shone so brightly at one point. It's what drove my family and hundreds of other immigrants here. And without your help, this flame will go out. I challenge you to seek out your family's immigrant story and the stories of others around you. Let those stories reignite our commitment to immigrants. My dream for our future is that we reclaim our immigrant story, move beyond the negative stigma perpetuated by the media and politicians, and instead embrace our stories and the stories of others. Tell me of your fears, and I'll tell you my story. When you listen to me and I listen to you, two strangers become we. We have to keep talking. We have to start listening to understand rather than to just respond. We have to keep asking questions. We have to tear down this in-group and out-group mentality. We have to close the gap that separates us from being a whole. We have to remember our roots and where we all came from. We have to take a stand and tell the media, no, this is not our future, and it's definitely not our story. And I say we, because I can't do this alone.